Okay, I'm ready when I am too. So I was just getting the last bit of setup going and trying to adjust the image. Okay, it doesn't do any good now trying to adjust. Anyway, I'll start the show. This is the Ramana Maharshi Self Knowledge Satsang, a time for self reflection and self inquiry. Know yourself and always be free and at peace. Welcome. I'm Richard Clarke, hosting this satsang. I'm a seeker like you, sharing what we love. I've been blessed with years of deep teaching, and I bring this to you with this satsang. The background today is from Arunachala's Inner Path. This is the Katu Shiva tank. This is the quiet path close to the mountain. It was a favorite of Carol and mine while we lived there, and we walked this route hundreds of times. The forest department closed it in 2012. Here are some photos we took in 2008 and 2009. We start at Ramanashram and we will take the stairs over to the left here. Then there are steps going up the hill and stone path leading up the hill. And after a bit, you get to this sign and you turn left to go on the inner path and you keep going straight to go to Skandana Ashram. The path goes along the side of the mountain for a while. Here's a view of Arunachala from the inner path. After a while, you go into the mountain of medicine. This is a growing area for one of the efforts to reforest Arunachala. This is the center of a part of that activity. Then the path, you see ahead of the path, the Parvati hill sticking up above the trees. As we walk along, we walk past Leopard Rock. Sometimes, like shown in this picture, you'll see a sadhu meditating on Leopard Rock. This is the Katu Shiva tank. Katu Shiva was another teacher, really, at the same time as Ramana, who was revered by many people and had a small ashram here. Then the path continues and uh, we head towards Parvati Hill. We pass another tank and the path winds around Parvati Hill. And after a bit, we come to a place where we can go to Kanapa Temple. And the path continues around Parvati Hill. And you might see cows here. They're commonly grazed in this area. And then here is the elephant and a small body of water we call the frog tank because of all the frogs we found in it. And here we're continuing along the path, and you see in the left center of the photo a white building sticking up out of the trees. That is the Gopuram, the tower to Adi Annamalai, one of the oldest temples around the mountain. And then the path continues. And here is the elephant from the other side, and it's in an area where they planted trees in rows maybe 40 years ago. And you can kind of tell where you are on the north side of the mountain by the position of the elephant and the nose. We passed through a pass behind a little residential district. And here is the east end of the mountain, the view. You can see to the right the elephant from this side. Then, as we continue along, you can see in the center of the photo, there's a temple poking out of the trees. This is Pachaman Coil, and in front of it are these warrior guardian statues. Then down the hill and to Hotel Ramakrishna, where Carol and I usually stopped for breakfast. Before we had breakfast, we would have Indian coffee, and sometimes the waiters were nice enough to cool it for us, like shown here. And then we would have dosas and vadas and chutney, and we would be very happy after our morning's walk. So now uh, on to this week's reading from Who Am I? This is paragraph 40. There are not two minds, one good and the other evil. It's only the vasanas or tendencies of the mind that are of two kind, good and favorable, evil and unfavorable. When the mind is associated with the former, it is called good, and when associated with the latter, it is called evil. However evil-minded other people may appear to you, it is not proper to hate or despise them. Likes and dislikes, love and hatred are equally to be eschewed. It is also not proper to let the mind often rest on objects or affairs of mundane life. As far as possible, one should not interfere in the affairs of others. Everything offered to others is really an offering to oneself. And if only this truth were realized, who is there that would refuse anything to others? Now, in these words, Ramana showed non duality in action. To quote, everything offered to others is really an offering to oneself. Ramana talks about two minds. There are not two minds within us, not two selves within us, not good and not good. There are not two selves, an inner self and a God self, one to see and another to be seen. There is just the self, non-dual reality. There is no individual or others. All is just one. To hate another person is like one hand being upset at the other hand. What is given to another is given to the self. It is from this understanding that we should relate to others. Now, the third patriarch of Chan, Sin Song, wrote in his classic Faith Mind on preferences, vasanas. These are his words. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. If you wish to see the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. When the deep meaning of things is not understood, the mind's essential peace is disturbed to no avail. The way is perfect, like vast space, where nothing is lacking and nothing is in excess. Indeed, it is due to our choosing to accept or reject that we do not see the true nature of things. Now, on to our videos for this week. First is Swami Sarvapriyananda, and he is will be talking about the second step of two steps. This is an excerpt from a longer video.
I am not the mind, not the intellect, not the memory, not the ego. Very interesting. He says, even I am not the ego. What is the ego? The I sense. Right now you'll say, I am sitting here and listening to a talk. I. This ego. This is the ego, which says I in the mind all the time. Are you the ego even? You are not. If you apply the same logic, you are aware of the ego. Because when it says I, you are aware of what is aware of the ego. In your mind right now. That's your real nature. That can never be objectified. The ego is also an object. It's a functioning of the mind. I am not the ego. Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. I am of the nature of pure consciousness and bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. Are you with me so far? You have a question? Hold on. We'll come. Just hold on to your question. Don't forget. Hold on to your questions, and we'll take time out to deal with them. Shankar at this point asks, are you with me so far? And you can imagine the student saying, yes, good. This is great. I am the immortal consciousness. neither mind nor body. Have you got what I said? They say, yes, we got it. And Shankara says, now I'm going to take it all back. You got it? Yes, you got it wrong. I don't mean one bit of it, whatever I've said till now. Shankara says in the 41st verse of Aparoksha Anubhuti, what do you gain by this? He says, nothing. This, what we have done now, is the first step, the very first step to non-duality. It is not non-duality. He points out, where is non-duality? You are some kind of awareness, that's what we are trying to say. All right, but here is the mind obviously before you, and the body, this person that I am, and the world, the vast world before me, populated by other persons, and by so many other entities in this world. How is it non-dual? It's full of dualities. It's plural. How is it Advaita? What's going on here? Shankara says, at this point if you stop, what have you, I'm translating his verse, what have you gained? It is exactly the philosophy, he says, of the logicians. Now think, in Hinduism, there are many philosophies. So there are the philosophies of the dualists. What do the dualists say in Hinduism? The dualists, there it means, the metaphysical dualist, that is, I am a self apart from the body and mind. Exactly what we were discussing. That is what the Nyaya school says of Hinduism, the Vaisheshika school, the Sankhya school, the Yoga school. They all say this, that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am the Atman, the self, apart from the body and mind. Exactly what we are discussing right now. And Shankara says that won't do. We have to go further, deeper. Are you a consciousness? And is there something apart from you called the mind and the body and the universe? Seems to be. But we have to investigate this. If you stop at this point, I am a point of consciousness, and here is my mind and body, they are apart from me, they are changing, and they are without awareness, they are many, I am one, and so on. I am this unchanging, immortal consciousness. By the way, already you have reached an immortal consciousness, because if you are not subject to change, then you are not subject to birth and death. The body is born. You, the awareness, are not born. Nobody till today has seen consciousness being born. You've seen what seems to be a baby becoming conscious or becoming aware, a person waking up from sleep. That's just consciousness flooding the mind and the body. But consciousness itself being born or destroyed, nobody has seen. And logically it's impossible, because if it's not subject to change, how can it die? So we have already reached this. I mean, why go any further? I am the immortal consciousness. That's it. It's great. Shankara says if you stop here, you have reached the position of the Sankhya philosophers, who say you are a conscious entity apart from the universe. There is the whole universe. It's going on, your own body and mind, according to its own laws. You are an unchanging point of light of consciousness. I think just a couple of days ago, we celebrated the great German philosopher Leibniz, his birthday. How I know is Google gives it's Leibniz's birthday. And he was behind a lot of the mathematics which has gone into our computer science and everything, so Leibniz. Calculus. He was a deep philosopher, and he came to this conclusion that ultimately what we are, he used to call them monads. What we are, each of us really, we are not bodies, we are not minds, we are eternal spirits. And the example is like dots of light in the night sky, the stars which shine cold and indifferent eternally, not literally eternally, but in the night sky, we are like that, eternally separate from each other. We come into contact with each other only through our automatons, our bodies and persona. But really speaking, we are eternally separated consciousnesses. Monads, he used to call them. This is exactly what Shankara is saying, that you stop here, this is the Sankhya philosophy. This is not Advaita. You have to go deeper. This is step 1. Now comes step 2. It actually gets harder. Now Shankara is going to show that The entirety of the universe which you experience, and the body and the mind separate from you, the consciousness, they are not actually separate from you. You, the consciousness, and this whatever you experience, they are none other than you. They are your expressions. The objects of consciousness are not two. It is not like light shining and here I am is an object upon which the light is shining. The light is different and the object is different. That's what we think. No. Consciousness is rather like a mirror in which you see so many reflections. They had the mirror example. Now a much better example is like a computer screen. So it's a screen in which so many things appear, but all the things which appear on the screen are nothing other than the screen itself. It is what projects everything in itself. Consciousness and its objects are not separate. And that's a nice statement to make. Can you prove it? Yes, I can. Watch this. When can you say two things are separate? When can I really say, in my own experience, when can I experience two things as being separate? Two things can be said to be separate if I can experience them separately. If these two things are separate, how do I know? I can show you the paper apart from the watch. I can show you the watch independently of the paper. And I can show them together also. But because I can show them separately, you say, yeah, they exist separately. Let me give you an even better example. A person, how do you know that the person has real teeth or dentures? So normally you wouldn't know because the person always has the teeth. You don't know whether he's wearing them or they are really part of his mouth, his jaw. The only way to know is if you suddenly go to his house and you find this old person opens the door with a kindly, toothless, grandfatherly smile, and the teeth are sitting in a little bowl in the solution there on the desk. Now you know, oh, they are dentures. They're two different entities. Usually they go together, so I don't know. We don't really know whether they're separate or not. But now I have seen them separately. They are two different entities. Are you with me with this example? Simple enough? Now apply it to consciousness and its objects, to you and everything else that you experience. The entire universe and you, the consciousness, they are two separate things if and only if they can be experienced apart from each other. It is literally impossible to do that. Can you ever experience anything apart from consciousness? The word consciousness is literally built into the word experience. There can be no experience apart from consciousness. Think about it. Everything that you have experienced in life, from the beginning till now and whatever will happen in the future, has always been in your awareness. Is it not so? Right? In you, the awareness, that's where you've experienced. Whether you see something or hear something, or smell or taste or touch, it is all in awareness. Whether you remember something, think of something, whether you understand, do not understand, desire something, achieve something, it's all in awareness. The entire universe, can it ever be experienced apart from awareness? Never. Think about it. Again, a very simple fact, but a tremendous fact. The object of consciousness cannot be experienced apart from consciousness. For consciousness, for experience, consciousness is absolutely mandatory. Without consciousness, no experience. It's a tremendous fact. Simple, always present to us, but we don't think about it. In that case, we have no right to speak of the object of consciousness being separate from consciousness. The world is not something out there which my consciousness goes out like a flashlight beam and experiences. No. The world is in my consciousness. Being in my consciousness, it is pervaded by consciousness. Is it something other than consciousness? No. Shankara says, it is you, the consciousness alone, with the mysterious power of Maya, which appears to be the object of consciousness. You alone appear as your world. as the world out there, as the people, even as your own body and your own mind, body, world, which we rejected earlier, not me, not me, not me, neti, neti, is now realized as the shining forth of me, the consciousness. I shine forth as the universe. I am one with the universe. None of these people here, none of these things here is actually different from you, the real you. If you root yourself in the body, clearly there are other bodies, other people. Clearly. Always go with experience. As I said at the very beginning, all these teachings, after understanding, listening, you must relate it back to your experience. Advaita makes the bold claim that not one thing which Advaita says is beyond your experience right now. Right now. The highest spiritual realization is not beyond your experience right now. It's right now, right here. In fact, there is a term in Kashmiri Shaiva philosophy called Pratyabhijna. It means recognition. You don't have to be illumined or enlightened or anything like that. All you need to do is recognize. It's right here. You are experiencing it. You don't recognize it. You don't recognize what you're experiencing.
Now let us continue with Mooji, and Mooji is going to talk about vasanas.
But just to quickly say what it implies only some deep tendencies, recurring tendencies that are so strong and full of identity. This, when we speak about the strength of any tendency, it's only because it has a lot of identity in it. No identity, no strength. No identity, no strength. Initially, all thoughts, they are equal in weightlessness. When you believe in them, then it empowers them. It gives them weight. I said before, a thought without belief has no power. A thought with belief can start a war even. So belief is the thing, not thought. Also, you know, people say, I've got a dirty mind or something. Because I have dirty thoughts. No. Dirty thoughts, you cannot stop. They will come initially. They will come. Dirty thoughts doesn't mean dirty mind. Dirty thoughts, when they are entertained, then they will linger and want to join your being. Then you say, yes, I've got dirty mind, which is also thought, dirty thinking. But no one can stop initially all kind of thoughts. You think bad thoughts didn't occur in the mind of the Buddha? Of course they come. In the mind of Christ or Krishna, of course the thoughts come. They come, good and bad thoughts, they will come, so to speak, no? But then they are defeated by holding on to the root. Who am I? Who is even the thinker of thought? Then that becomes the focus, and then the heat is turned down on the thought attention itself. Who is the thinker even of thoughts? So thoughts arising by themselves, nothing at all. But if you engage and identify with them, then somehow you create a relationship, then some identification arises with them, then they are empowered and they feel they're your thoughts and your mind. These are all ideas. So the best way we talk about these vasanas, strong tendencies, strong belief in identification. So much so are these powers that when they appear, when they arise in the beingness, they seem to hold the beingness hostage. What is meant by that? It means that somehow all the power is going, all the attention is going to serve these energies. And they have very strong identity in them. Now, some people, they say, but also these thoughts, they're also illusion. Of course, it's an illusion. And the one who is affected by it also an illusion. But are you out of that trap yet? You see? And so you feel the presence of these forces. Sometimes they come. It could be a fear of rejection or something. or a desire to be famous, or uh, some strong sexual urge that has to be satisfied, or whatever it is, can come. And when it manifests, somehow it takes all the attention, all the energy to try and satisfy its projections. And you, the beingness, somehow in those moments, you're least in touch consciously with your root power. It's as though the attention is sucked into this energy field of identification. So they are called vasanas. No? How to overcome them? This person is asking. Ask about purifying them, and the judgment of others. Maybe that's a strong tendencies. You see, if there's no strong identification as yourself, then there cannot be judgment of others. You see? So this is what to call locating this vasana energy. How to get out of it. First, you must uh, feel the presence of it when it arises. Sometime in satsang, also, it triggers also these energies which sometimes feel like they're dormant or they're not there at all, don't exist. But when they flare up, they come to the surface, then you can feel that sometimes the energy, the identification is in that modification, like this. Then I say, be aware of the presence of this force, these ideas, this identity first. And now you find out really who is the one who has it, who is the victim of it, the inner victim of it. You have to find out. And this you have to keep very quiet. While the presence of these energies are there, pulsating, and all the blood is going there to the crime scene. Everything, your energy is there. If somebody came and says, listen man, you know you're not that, you know you're the self, you want to strangle them, because you feel, no, in this moment, like this is the most real, then even your understanding seems like it's a bit more distant, because of the pulse of this seems to eclipse your intuitive knowing that even this is also just a passing moment. These are just ideas, which they are, but they've grown fat on identification, true identification. So you start like this, you can look at it, feel the presence of it. Don't try and push it away. Let it fully happen. Don't say it should not be there. Let it be there. You can feel it. Maybe it takes hold of the body and you feel really busy and disturbed and hot and caught in this type of sensation. So let it be there first thing. And try and sit quietly and be present with it in your mind. Now you just focus as much as you can on the feeling of being, and you feel that almost this is more loud. This energy is more loud, but don't judge it. Just let it be there. Try and see it only as a phenomenon happening and not identify. That's one way. Otherwise, if the identity is very loud, if it's pulsing, also don't try and stop this. Just keep calm as much as you can and find out, if you can in this moment, who is the one who this is happening to, who is the victim of this. You can keep repeating this question. Perhaps this question doesn't feel strong in that moment to be asked because of the loudness. It seems as though this sensation is almost everywhere you turn. It is there, it's in the body, it's in the being. But be present with it, and as much you don't identify or find out to whom it is, for whom is this vasana. See if you can actually throw your attention in and find out the place of suffering. Go to the very center of it and see if you find a sufferer of it there. Keep quiet. Just hold on. Don't panic, don't judge, don't try and push it away. Simply try not to identify and stay as present as you can. In a short time, you will feel something do this. Just like a movement like this happen, and you'll feel like some space come. Almost like you are suffocating, and then suddenly the lungs open and some space will come. Some space will come and you'll feel again the presence of presence. That has always been there. But it's as though these kind of forces, they come and they're holding the ground for a moment. And if you don't feed them, meaning identify panic, even if panic happens, also still remember what I'm saying, even the panic is also phenomenal. Who is the one who is panicking? Just quietly checking in. Be steady. Don't get caught up. Don't get pulled into that rush, into that storm. Let it happen. It will pass like anything else. It will come again, but each time you hold your ground and be present only as being. Say, I don't mind if this vasana, this energy, these tendencies destroy this body. I don't care. But I'm only staying only as the presence itself. Then gradually you'll see that each time it comes, the presence doesn't move away to make room for these. Then at a certain point, they're there together. You'll feel the presence, and you'll feel also the presence of this energy. And gradually it means that the energy of these forces, vasanas, they are on the way out. They are being burped out. At a certain point, they're going to go very quickly, the force of them. As the presence is learning to be only with itself, these cannot stand, because they have to be energized by the belief and the identity. Wherever there is identity, there is the sense of an I entity. And the I entity is what seems to be suffering from all these different reasons in the world. Soon it will be over for you. It will be over. You will not have to live all your life with these forces. They will not come. They are strongest when the mind or when the consciousness is in identification with the body-mind experience. They will feel to be more powerful. As you remember that you are the weakness of all appearances, these will begin to get weaker. This is a guarantee. It will get weaker. It will get weaker. At a certain point when they rise, you will not even turn your head anymore. They will not command that much power, that much attention from you. Such it is. There will always be, as long as the vital force in the body is there and the consciousness is there, some thought activity will be here in the body. The remnants, superficially, of conditioning will still be there, but it will not have the power to pull the beingness into the bush for a good mugging. It will not happen. You will be able to somehow say, okay, fine. People may see, and oh yeah, he's still like this. They were saying one saint was always loved counting money. He was always counting his money over and over. Even if he's got 10 rupees, he still count them over and over. It was his habit, counting the rupee over and over, no? Maybe become meditation for him, but something like it. And even after his mind came into complete realization, still doing this tendency, counting money, counting money. Other people say, but he hasn't changed, no? He's still counting money. But inside, he's not counting anything. It's just this movement is going on. So this activity may still continue, but inwardly you don't know anything about it. Others will tell you about personality, but inwardly you cannot find even the meaning of what it means, personality. What is that? But others may say, I like your personality, or you got this type of personality. You won't know what it means. But the mind doesn't give up. Unchallenged, it's still there. The tendencies are still there. I was telling the story also about this tendency. One man, businessman, loved business so much that even on his deathbed, he sold his watch to his best friend and made a profit. And he was very happy about it. Can you imagine? Such is the tendency that even on the deathbed, the last few breaths, he was doing a deal. Look, it's waterproof. So this is one way of dealing with it. Gradually, even the impression of these vasanas, they will not follow you anymore. They will just be sort of so weak in impression, because you are again in your natural place. They can only get you. As I said before, the power of Mahamaya, the great illusion, the great delusion, has bitten, this snake has bitten every being, not just human beings, into the delusion, I am the body. And only one medicine can get rid of it. Your own Parabrahman. Because that is here. Then you must come to your own Parabrahman, mean your original truth. Then Maya has no hold on you. Where is that? It is your own self. when you are free from the associations of all that we have accumulated, which were not original to you from the beginning. They came later. Everything came later, including knowledge. How we know this? Because you are the one who knows knowledge and no ignorance. Knowledge doesn't know you. Who are you? Everything came after, because you are the perceiver of it. You watch its rising, its ascendance, and its departure. Who can you be? See? Even this body is like a burning candle. Also it is witnessed by the indwelling spirit, you see. This is not things I'm asking you to believe, but to verify, to confirm through your own intuitive power. You're doing it.
And now, Nome, and Nome will talk about the one self.
Oneself alone exists eternally. There is no other. That is, there is no multiplicity of selves outside of yourself or within yourself. The conception of multiplicity is only delusion based upon misidentification, which has for its root the false assumption of an ego entity, an individual identity. Oneself exists of the nature of pure being, consciousness, bliss. It is unborn, it is unformed, uncreated, and imperishable. The idea of more than oneself is only misidentification. If you mistake yourself to be a body, there will appear to be multiple selves. Are you the body? This is what should be known. In your spiritual practice, if your aim is to realize the self, which is the absolute or Brahman, you must ask yourself, are there two of you? One seeking to realize, and one that which is to be realized. Multiplicity of selves, such as yourself and the self, is born of misidentification, that is to say, delusion. In the highest sense, who is to realize what when all that there exists is this one self? What then is self-realization? It is undoubtedly knowledge of the self, such knowledge being not a perception, not a conception, but utterly non-objective. With non-objective knowledge, the knowing and one's own being are identical. Because there are not two selves, the Maharshi laid the greatest emphasis for self-realization upon inquiry. Who am I? It is an inquiry into the true nature of the inquirer, and not the attempt to ascertain something objective to oneself. For whatever is objective to you is dependent upon you, and is merely false appearance and ultimately completely unreal. It is an inquiry as to who you are. If you wish to realize the self, first know your own self. If you know your own self, the your own part will vanish. For the ego is not real. Individuality is not real. And what remains is pure being, which is itself the knowledge. If we treat in our minds self-realization, or the self, as if it were apart from our own self, our own being, then we will seek it as if it is some kind of mental mode, as if we are in one mode, and we will later be in another mode, a state of ignorance and a state of knowledge. But the knowledge which is eternal, the knowledge of the self which is infinite and eternal, is not a mode of mind. It does not occur within a mode of mind. It does not even occur within the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep states. It does not occur. For it is not an event. Not being in time, it is indestructible. Since this knowledge is one with your being, therefore inquire within yourself, what is it in you that neither wakes nor dreams, which does not sleep, which has no objective attribute? What is it within you that is neither perceived nor conceived? If you determine like this within yourself, you will have found yourself, and that which you have found, you yourself are. No new self will have been produced, nor will you have been transformed from one thing into another, though all the bondage and suffering, which are a result only of delusion, will have vanished. Inquire within yourself and cease to misidentify with a body or a mind or the very idea of I. You cannot be what is objective. So who are you? Inquire. If you wish to merge with Brahman, or be in union with God, who are you that seem to be broken off, that you would later merge or have union with that? Question that very identity. If you inquire non-objectively in this manner, the I and all else which depends on the I ceases to be for you, because it had no real existence. It is the unreal alone that appears to cease. The real ever is, just as it is. That reality alone knows itself. Brahman alone knows Brahman. There is no other. The self knows the self. There is no second, no other. It is for this reason that in the Karika, Gaudapada says, there is no creation and no destruction, and no one bound, no one desiring to be free, no one practicing, and no one liberated.
And now we are going to meditate for a few minutes. Breathe in and breathe out. Notice the breath as it comes in, as it goes out. Take long, slow breaths. And notice that you exist. You exist, and you know that you exist. Now, inquire, investigate within yourself, within your actual experience right now. Then, are you one or two? What's your experience? Is your experience as one or is it multiple? Really look. Is there one of you to know uh, the other you, or is it just one? Who am I? What is the nature of this identity? All right. Now let's close with a chant. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace. If this satsang was of interest to you, I have more, a free book site, a YouTube site, and my blog, and the URLs will be on the screen next. These satsangs will continue in the coming weeks with this series based on the Ramana Maharshi book, Who Am I? Thank you for letting me share this teaching with you.